holidays!
Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks especially to the Mackey family, Avery and Braden, for a wonderful duet of Carol of the Bells. Hopefully you all tuned in a minute or two early to hear that. I'm so glad to see everyone. We have 30 participants showing up right now. And I hope you will soon see, if you haven't seen already, I'm not sure, our son Scott Christenberry is going to Zoom in for the first time from California. Since we're not meeting at 10:30 in the morning our time, 7:30 in the morning his time, he is able to do so in the afternoon. For your best visual experience today, please use the speaker view and don't forget your candle. Whether it looks like this or a little battery candle, you need your candle for the end of the service. So get a hold of that. All right, let's begin. Welcome to this congregation and our Christmas Eve service. We're glad that you've joined us in our sacred cyberspace and hope you will experience love, acceptance, and inspiration. As some of our family return home for the holidays, we gather to celebrate a special Christmas Eve service. An inspiring feeling of peace will blanket us as we listen to Christmas stories and sing our favorite Christmas hymns. Today, we feature Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano with messages of holiday hope. Reverend Craig is co-minister of the UU congregation in Monmouth County in Lincroft. Craig has been guest ministering at UUFLB since 2011, while pursuing Masters of Divinity in Theology and a PhD in Pastoral Theology at Princeton Theological Seminary. He was ordained to the ministry in 2018 by the UU Congregation of Princeton. Craig is a graduate of Yale and Columbia, and he lives at the summit of 10 Mile Run Mountain, just north of Princeton, where he has helped to raise 2 nieces and 2 Nigerian dwarf goats. We begin our service by lighting our chalice, and we have Nancy Lesh and Bill Stroop to help us with that.
We light our chalice this morning, grateful for the love that we experience in this beloved community. May this flame light our way to inner peace, to love for each other, and faith in ourselves.
Thank you, Bill and Nancy. Our opening words today are by Reverend Alfred Cole, called Into the Bright Circle. Into the bright circle of light and life, which is the Christmas season we have come. Out of the routine ways of living and the drab little ruts of habit, we have come to warm our hearts and minds at the cradle of the child. May something of the beauty, mystery, and promise of this lovely old story fall like silver rain upon the broken dreams, the hates, and the fears of all. Once again, as we pause, we look up, and in the far-off distances, we hear that old music of hope, brotherhood, sisterhood, and blessed peace. Now we're going to have our first hymn, and Avi Wisnia, musician extraordinaire, will be with us live and in person. And you can sing along using the words that you'll find on the screen. Take it away, Avi.
Deck the hall with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, lasses, fa la 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 la. Hail the new ye lads and lasses, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la 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 la.
Thank you, Avi. It's great to have you with us. Our call to worship today is by Alex Klingenberg. In whom will we be reborn? We come together tonight to remember the history or the myth that says hope was born in the form of a baby named Jesus. What is so compelling about the story of Jesus's birth, his life, and his love? Why has this story reached across the ages to us while so many others have faded into history? Jesus embodies the best of what humanity can be: compassionate, humble, brave, and mortal. Jesus asks us to make the most of our life, to create joy where there is pain, to care for the poor and question the powerful, and perhaps most importantly, to question the purpose of our own lives. What will we leave in our wake? In whom will we be reborn? What light can we bring in the darkness? Tonight, on the eve of Christmas, we contemplate the significance that one person can have and revel in the joy of possibilities. Reverend Craig Rubano will give us a timely Christmas reading.
Lower Bucks, it is a joy to be present with you again on Christmas Eve. May all the blessings of the holy day be ours this year. The gospel selections we will hear describe parts of the Christmas story that have troubled some Unitarian Universalists. Tonight, I invite us to listen with curiosity. What are the deeper lessons in the myth and miracle presented here? Our hearing of the old story begins in the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 1, verses 26 to 31 and 38. The angel Gabriel was sent by God to a city in Galilee whose name was Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph, and the virgin's name was Mary. And going in to her, he said, "Hail, favored one, the Lord is with you." And she was greatly distressed at his words and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. And the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And see, you will conceive in your womb and will bear a son, and you shall declare his name to be Jesus." And Mary said, "May it happen to me as you have said."
Thank you, Reverend Craig. Now, Avi will lead us in our second hymn, one of my favorites, Joy to the World.
Joy to the world is come. Let earth with praises ring. Let every heart prepare a room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, now gladness reigns. Let hearts their song employ, while fields and floods, rock hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. No more let sins
I just love these Christmas hymns. Reverend Craig's second reading is from the scripture of Matthew.
Our story continues in the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 1, verses 18 to 20 and 24. Now the manner of the birth of Jesus the Anointed was this. His mother Mary was betrothed to Joseph, but before they had been joined, she was discovered to be pregnant from a Holy Spirit. And her husband Joseph, being an upright man, and not wishing to make a spectacle of her, resolved to divorce her in private. But look, as he was pondering these matters, the Lord's angel appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to receive your wife Mary, for what has been begotten within her is from a Spirit, the Holy One. And Joseph, having arisen from sleep, did as the Lord's angel had bidden him, and received his wife.
Thank you, Reverend Craig. Avi, let's sing Angels We Have Heard on High.
Don't mind if we do. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, on the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why these songs of happy cheer? What great brightness do you see? What glad tidings do you hear? Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. See him in a manger laid, whom the angels praise above. Mary, Joseph, lend your aid, while we raise our hearts in love. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
So great. Thank you. Reverend Craig's final biblical reading is from Luke.
Our story ends in the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 2, verses 1 and 3 to 7. And it happened that in those days an edict went out from Caesar Augustus that all the inhabited world should be enrolled in a census. And all went to be enrolled, each to their own city. And so Joseph went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, since he was from the house and lineage of David, to be enrolled with Mary, who was betrothed to him and who was pregnant. And while they were there, it came about that the days of her bearing reached their term, and she gave birth to her son, her firstborn, and she wrapped him in swaddling cloths and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the lodge.
Thank you. Our next hymn is First Noel. Avi, take it away.
The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep. On a cold winter's night was ever so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. They looked up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them far, and to the earth it gave a great light, and so it continued both day and night. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. And by the light of that same star, 3 magi came from country far. To seek a king was their intent, and to follow the star wherever it went. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel.
Beautiful. Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano will share an interesting interpretation of the virgin birth with a special poem. Please listen.
Our contemporary reading this evening is The Virgin Monologue, a poem by United Church of Christ minister, the Reverend Jim Burklo. God did it isn't an explanation, said Joseph. He got no account for the baby's chromosomes, no description of the mechanism that transmuted the divine shadow into royal blood. The devil made me do it would have sounded better to me, said Joseph, though it never did him any good when he said it to his old girlfriends. It was a mystery to him. What moved him to listen for the rhyme and puzzle for the reason that Mary gave him the news in the manner that she did? A mystery that put him at peace. There was something in the way she held his hand that no medical journal article could correlate. Something in the way she gazed into his eyes that eluded the grasp of genomic research. I don't ask you to believe what I am saying, she said. I don't ask you to take my word for it. I just ask you to love as if. Love me as if I were yours. Love this baby as if he were yours, as I love you, as if you were mine. Love as if makes every child divine. Love as if fits all in David's line. Live as if this love was meant for you. Love as if the Christmas tale is true.
As if. I love that. Okay, Avi, I think it's time for It Came Upon a Midnight Clear.
All right, here we go. It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth to all goodwill, from heaven the news we bring. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still the heavenly music floats o'er all the weary world. Above its sad and lonely plains they bend on hovering wings, and ever over its babel sounds the blessed angels sing. But with the woes of war and strife the world has suffered long. Beneath the angel strains have rolled 2,000 years of wrong. And we who fight the wars hear not the love song which they bring. Oh, hush the noise of battle strife, and hear the angels sing. For lo, the days are hastening on, by prophet bards foretold, when with the ever-circling years comes round the age of gold, when peace shall over all the earth its ancient splendors fling, and the whole world give back the song which now the angels sing.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy singing all of these songs. Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano will end with a short Christmas Eve sermon.
Confronted with appearances by cosmologically unlikely messengers delivering biologically implausible news in the related events leading up to the birth of Jesus, we might be forgiven for getting hung up on a thwarted modern hunger for scientific certainties. In rejecting the story out of hand, however, we forego savoring the beautiful poetry of narratives never intended to be eyewitness accounts, but rather stories laced with symbolism and portent. We also risk missing the terrifying and touching tableau of two rather extraordinary parents whose provision and determination and love made possible a life that would go on to change the course of human history. Two Palestinian peasants living under the fist of empire. A young woman, perhaps as young as 12, the traditional age to become betrothed, suddenly pregnant, in circumstances that would have invoked in the first hearers of the story at least a sense of scandal, and potentially a sober awareness of the indiscriminate violence Roman occupation could wreak. And a man, torn among options but without any real legal recourse, burdened by the expectations of a deeply gender-coded society. Both living at the very bottom of a hierarchical class system, each full of fear and confusion. The outlook was bleak from the start. Even once Mary makes a kind of peace with the realities of her plight, and Joseph takes the courageous decision to be father to a child not his own, the couple, Mary already near full term, is forced to travel on foot, perhaps with a donkey, though none is mentioned in the text, in order to register in an imperial census. 90 miles south from the hamlet of Nazareth, alongside the Jordan River, and then west and over the high hills that surround Jerusalem before descending to the backwater village of Bethlehem, only to end up in a cave. Mary going into labor amidst the filth of livestock, the baby protected from the cold by straw and hay placed in the animal's feeding trough. And yet, beset by anxious uncertainties and certain harsh realities, Mary and Joseph made the very best of what life offered them through whatever love they were able to summon up. The birth of a child dangerously at the mercy of elements both physical and systemic became an occasion for inspiring unity and an enduring story of self-determination. Quite an instructive parental foundation for the leadership of the man that child would become, whose teachings would be universal love and dignity in the face of everything empire decreed was one's lot in life. The stories surrounding the birth of Jesus only emerged 2 generations after his public execution. They were written down amidst great tragedy in the aftermath of the Jerusalem.
Okay. We have some technical difficulties. We will, oh boy. No, it's that one, the far right. Oh boy. I'm going to use the mouse, honey. Let me use the mouse. I don't know. Okay.
Confronted with appearances by cosmologically unlikely messengers delivering biologically implausible news in the related events leading up to the birth of Jesus, we might be forgiven for getting hung up on a thwarted modern hunger for scientific certainties. In rejecting the story out of hand, however, we forego savoring the beautiful poetry of narratives never intended to be eyewitness accounts, but rather stories laced with symbolism and portent. We also risk missing the terrifying and touching tableau of 2 rather extraordinary parents whose provision and determination and love made possible a life that would go on to change the course of human history. 2 Palestinian peasants living under the fist of empire. A young woman, perhaps as young as 12, the traditional age to become betrothed, suddenly pregnant in circumstances that would have invoked in the first hearers of the story at least a sense of scandal, and potentially a sober awareness of the indiscriminate violence Roman occupation could wreak. And a man, torn among options but without any real legal recourse, burdened by the expectations of a deeply gender-coded society. Both living at the very bottom of a hierarchical class system, each full of fear and confusion. The outlook was bleak from the start. Even once Mary makes a kind of peace with the realities of her plight, and Joseph takes the courageous decision to be father to a child not his own, the couple, Mary already near full term, is forced to travel on foot, perhaps with a donkey, though none is mentioned in the text, in order to register in an imperial census. 90 miles south from the hamlet of Nazareth, alongside the Jordan River, and then west and over the high hills that surround Jerusalem before descending to the backwater village of Bethlehem, only to end up in a cave. Mary going into labor amidst the filth of livestock, the baby protected from the cold by straw and hay placed in the animal's feeding trough. And yet, beset by anxious uncertainties and certain harsh realities, Mary and Joseph made the very best of what life offered them through whatever love they were able to summon up. The birth of a child dangerously at the mercy of elements both physical and systemic became an occasion for inspiring unity and an enduring story of self-determination. Quite an instructive parental foundation for the leadership of the man that child would become, whose teachings would be universal love and dignity in the face of everything empire decreed was one's lot in life. The stories surrounding the birth of Jesus only emerged 2 generations after his public execution. They were written down amidst great tragedy in the aftermath of the Jerusalem temple's destruction and the murder and scattering of the Judean people by the Romans. These narratives were shared in order to provide inspiration to various burgeoning reforming movements in the far-flung communities among the diaspora of a battered people, living in exile from political and religious liberty. The Nativity tale's message was simple and defiant. Freedom can come from the most unlikely of places, if properly cultivated. And for millennia, millions have drawn comfort and existential dignity from these stories' contours. At its core, Christmas is a portrait of 2 people who saw beyond the circumstances of their lives and who were sustained by God and by the love they were able to give to one another and to a child. So yes, there are things about the birth narratives of Jesus that seem impossible to believe. But then again, there are many mysteries in this world which defy explanation. Love, for one. The Christmas story is meant to stimulate a sense of wonder, to kindle the sort of what-if dreams that have always lighted the vital zeal of those ordinary humans who, by living as if what they strive for has already arrived, achieved impossible feats of imagination and courage. I pray that we might, this night, live into timeless words as if they were meant for us. As if somewhere in their shocking details there might be a message, some truth to inspire us to greater love and caring and steadfastness and daring. What might it mean to love as if the Christmas tale is true?
Wow. I'm so glad we had Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano with us this evening. We usually are lay-led completely on Christmas Eve, but I really enjoyed how he pulled everything together. Please sit back for just a moment and close your eyes for this meditation from Reverend Christine Robinson. Let us join our hearts and minds together in the spirit of meditation and prayer. May these moments of quiet lead us to the heart of the season, which is peace. May we breathe deeply of peace in this quiet place. Relax into its warmth. Know we are safe here. And let us open our hearts to the evening's story. Like the wandering couple, may we find that our greatest trials issue forth from our greatest joys. Like the harried innkeeper, may we find ways to be of help to others. Like the lumbering beast, may we be silent witnesses to the unfathomable glory of life. Like the shepherds on the hill, may we know that we need never be afraid. Like the journeying wise, may we always have the courage to follow our stars. Like the angels, may we cry peace to a troubled world. Holy One, to these prayers for our own transformation, we add our prayers for all of those who suffer and grieve this evening. May they find comfort. And we add our prayers for all those involved in war. May they be safe. And may this season of peace and goodwill nudge our world towards its ideals, for then will Christmas truly dawn. Our closing words are from Reverend Tess Bomberger. The holiday season is upon us, but this year, many of us moved toward it with leaden feet. It has been such a year. And because it has been such a year, it may feel forced to enter into the jolly spirit of Christmas, the joyful spirit of Hanukkah, the reflective spirit of solstice, the hopeful spirit of New Year's. Thinking of all this, Reverend Tess offers this responsive prayer. Please respond with the words, "May we find peace." Spirit of life and goodness, may we find peace. When our world is worn with war, may we find peace. When our lives are ruled by fear, may we find peace. When loss ladens our days, may we find peace. When loneliness weighs heavy in our hearts, may we find peace. When despair takes hold of our souls, may we find peace. As we give help to those in need, may we find peace. As we go about our daily duties, may we find peace. As we make holiday preparations, may we find peace. It's time to take out your candle. Whether you have a candle that you will light with a flame, or whether you have a battery lit candle, or whether your candle is just virtual in your mind, please light your candle now, as Gil has done for me. And we're going to sing Silent Night as we have always done at Penryn. I'm going to just turn out a few of our lights. And our UUFLB musicians, including Avi, but including several others, and it'll be a surprise. They have a Christmas surprise music for us. Here we go. Thank you, Avi, Jeff, Jim, Avery, Joanna, Aaron, Braden. I hope that this wonderful musical montage makes you feel like we're back at Penryn. It's time to extinguish the chalice. So we bring back Nancy and Bill.
We extinguish our chalice, but we keep its light in our hearts. May it light our path as we leave this place and guide our way until we're together again.
It's that time to unmute everybody for the coffee hour. Give us a second, and we will enable chat as well.